Yo, what's popping? Have the DPS tier list here, hot and ready. Got all the guys going, and just starting right into this. Gonna be moving the guys that need more playtime to really do anything. There's still a few here. So Hacker hasn't played at all. Pineapple played like a single map. Prita hasn't played at all because Jimmy's been the goat. And then Dante has played like a few maps here and there, like mid-season madness, but like not really. Let me actually move these guys up a little bit so I can get the Shanghai Dragons guys down off of the side. Should have done this earlier, I guess, but whatever. There. Okay, so the worst DPS player in the league this season. I'm gonna give it to Mirror. So yeah, Mirror, he had like a 4-minute blade on Circuit Royale, and he didn't play at all this stage, but like, bruh, this guy had some pretty shockingly bad performances, and he just hasn't really gotten anything done on the DPS. I think his Doomfist was really good, but now Doomfist a tank, I don't really see any world where he should be playing damage anymore, like literally at all. Maybe that's a hot take, but I legitimately see no world where Mirror plays damage ever. So he's gonna be down there. Next is going to be Wub. He just hasn't had it going in the season. Like this, could he maybe? I have doubts. I think his strength is in his hero pool, right? So if you get a lot of heroes that are maybe viable at different times, and it lets him pick and choose whichever ones he wants to play, that's like the best case scenario for him. But even then, I don't see him going that much further. And I don't know. There's been some stuff where I think he's been sick or something too. I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. Don't quote me on that. But I think he said there was some sort of in real life stuff that wasn't great, but just not great. And then we have Dove. I think Dove has been diffed in literally every single match he's ever been in this season. Like, I cannot say he has won a hit scan matchup at all. So, like, where else can you put him? He literally has not. He's not won the duel ever. Like, yeah, he maybe he's able to he's able to get kills. Like, I'm not saying he doesn't kill anyone ever. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying that like, he has not consistently won duels. And then up after that, it's going to be Malthel. His Genji gameplay wasn't really there either. I'm just lumping all the Paris guys together, which is, I guess, is good for people also in this tier that have been raised because of it. But like Malthel the Genji, he hasn't really like carried a fight or anything like that. Like, look at the other Genjis. Look at the Genji. This is like compare him to not even who are you? Compare him to King. King's not going D tier. That's a spoiler right there. King is not in the D tier. Malthel is. King, he at least has shown some things. No, he's not the greatest. I think he's one of the weakest Genjis, right? But I think he still dips Malthel. That's my thought process right now. Malthel could raise out of that. You know, it's just one stage on a pretty dysfunctional team. You know, he could improve that. I'm not saying he's stuck in D tier forever, but like after that stage, I'm not very happy with him. Up next is going to be Gurio. So maybe this is someone that Dove could beat in a duel. Maybe, probably. Gurio has never actually been able to perform. He didn't play at all this stage. They put Edison in over him, and Edison, he was good enough. He was good enough to get them the decisive win over NA. And if Gurio's in, I legitimately don't think they do that. Now, I never like to blame everything on one player. Like, you see a bunch of shock fans hitting on Kilo and all that. I'm not saying that like that's the same for Gurio, but Gurio was not good enough to have any sort of impact and make Dallas better in the midseason madness, and they struggled for it. They finally subbed him out, and he's back to or Dallas is back to standard Dallas gameplay, and Gurio is quite sad on the bench, but like you can't play him. He's just not. He has not shown he could do it. And after that, it's gonna be Carpe. So I thought Carpe had an alright start to the season. I was like, you know what? Carpe's doing okay. Then he doesn't really play very much in the midseason madness. He plays a little bit, not too much, because MN3 is just better. MN3 is that guy. Now you play him 4 matches out of 6 in the qualifiers, and he literally is the worst in APAC. Like there is no real redeeming this. He was getting diffed by EasyHan. He was getting diffed by Jimmy. He's getting diffed by literally everyone. All the other guys aren't even worth mentioning. He can't hold a candle to them anymore. So I don't know what it is. Maybe Carpe not a Sojourn player, but like just do not play Carpe anymore. We have to let go of the past. Sure, you can say you know what, he can be signed. He has some merit as a leader in this team, as a veteran on this roster. He can lead the way for MN3, help him out. Sure, but he cannot be playing this game. He just can't. Now maybe he comes alive and like maybe there's a Widowmaker or something, but like are you really taking MN3 out? I am not. MN3 is just better. I'm very sorry that Carpe was taking any of his playtime, and he almost cost the Fusion their extra point from that tournament. Honestly, I said don't blame a single player, but like the deficit is there with Carpe. Like it was visible. But anyway, that's gonna round off D tier, and it's sad to see Carpe down here. I'm a Carpe enjoyer, but undefendable right now. Okay, to start off D tier, there's a lot of DPS, eh? But starting off D tier, we have King. So I said King. You know, he's not in D tier, but he's at the bottom of C. Because, like, he had some decent performances at the start, but I don't think he actually ever really improved on them. I think actually more players improved around him than he actually improved in his role. And it just kind of hurt Vancouver moving forward. They couldn't really rely on King to follow up on Aspire's damage or to follow up in general and create any space, be that frontline presence that the Genjis needed to be last meta. And I think it results in them going up quite early in that tournament. Like King just wasn't able to match up with some of the other Genjis in that tournament. Like even although had a phenomenal tournament, you saw Toronto go deep. If King has a tournament like that, maybe Vancouver goes a bit deeper. But I don't think that he was able to match up well enough to warrant putting him any higher. And above him is going to be Architect. So Architect, I have him in because he played 2 full matches, and honestly, he wasn't that bad, but he just wasn't Alpha E, and that's all really. I don't like seeing Architect in. I think his time is gone, but my sock is off. What the hell? Okay, but I don't know. He wasn't like the worst player ever. Honestly, you could put him higher, but like it's only 2 matches, and they were like whatever matches. Like he had some moments. He had like a 5K, I think, at one point, so good for him. But I'm not. I don't think you can put him much higher just because like the people above him did more for longer in a way. Right above him, well, this is not a good example. It's Shax, because Shax did not play at all last tournament, but he did play in the midseason madness a bit. In the ball composition on the Tracer, and Shax is another player. I think he has so much to give. I'm like a huge Shax enjoyer. I think he's a phenomenal Tracer. I think he's a phenomenal hit scan, and he just needs to be played more on London to actually really step into that role and fill it nicely. But you're never going to, with Sparker there, you're never going to play the hit scan. So he's just on Tracer duty. And honestly, if there is a Tracer hit scan meta, I'm not sad about that if I'm a London fan, because I think Shax is quite good, but he hasn't actually been able to show that yet. He hasn't had enough consistent playtime to do that, and I feel like whenever he has been in, it's been okay results, but nothing really spectacular. He's not like super noticeable compared to the other Tracers that were playing at the time. So I think C tier is pretty reasonable, but a lot of potential there for sure. Above him is going to be Becky, so I am a Becky hater. I know there are some Becky enjoyers. I'm a Becky hater. So the reason for that is he just trolls, man. I say it every time I do this. He just trolls relentlessly. He has some pop-off moments where he's able to secure you a point, but like, and his over-reliance on the Echo this stage was really bad. Because like you could tell that he knew he wasn't going to match up to the APAC Genjis, so he was like, I'm just going to play Echo. But it doesn't work like that. You can't just play Echo. There's a reason Genji was so dominant. And you just can't ignore that because you don't feel comfortable on it. He never got comfortable on the Genji. The Echo never works. He's going right down here. Above him is going to be Innovation, because Innovation he comes in for the May, some weird picks like that, and he like finds success, but he's not outrageously successful. He's just finding general success for himself. But as a team, are the Valiant really being successful with it? Not really. They have 3 wins, so I think right above Becky's a little fair, but like if he was in full time, obviously he would not be there. He'd probably be lower or higher. I'm not sure where he'd be, but I'm just gonna stick him C. And above him is going to be Victoria. So Victoria basically loses his job at the end of that. At the end of that qualifier, we saw Seeker come in, and Victoria was very. I thought he was consistent, but he wasn't a way off and on because he's not really consistently diffing anyone above him, but I don't think he really did diff any of them. he was able to snag you a fight here and there, but he was never dominating a map. He was never dominating a match. And he was like good enough to keep Boston out of the basement. Is my thought process. And now that Seeker's here, we'll see what he can do for like on a consistent basis. If he gets more playtime and he plays more often. But Victoria, to me, it looks like he has lost his job. Above him is going to be Flora. So Flora, Flora, I had some hype around Flora. I thought he had some good moments in the midseason madness, but he just never really showed up this stage. Like at the beginning of their own New York, they're doing it. They got it all together. They're looking good, but then they never again flatline. They just never improve. Flora never really did it. He never really got the job done like he needed to. And I felt like you kind of need that. Maybe if you had Yaki and Flora going crazy, even then Yaki wasn't going crazy. I'm actually lowering Yaki. Spoiler on that. Because I've had Yaki A tier, I believe, the last time, and I've opened my eyes that Yaki cannot be considered A tier. He just can't. But anyway, Flora, I think if he was a bit more dynamic, it'd be better. But he just feels a little flat in a way in most of his matchups. I still think he's good. I think he has the potential to steal you a map, maybe, if he pops off, but that has not happened in a while. And I don't know if it'll happen again this season, at least. Above, so Laura is Finale. Also, can we talk about these blues? Look at the blue pipeline looks very nice there. Finale. So Finale doesn't play at all last stage, but his Echo is atrocious from the midseason madness. We've learned that, but his Tracer is very good. His Tracer is probably like A tier, high B tier in a way, but unfortunately he also played the Genji in the kickoff clash and it wasn't fantastic. He also played the Echo in the midseason madness and it was not good at all. So and we don't even know if Tracer's coming back in a way, and he didn't even get to play that much Tracer. So I think C tier is very fair for him. I think if he is on Tracer full time and he's like able to step up into that. Maybe next stage or whenever the hell Tracer comes back, he'll move up. I don't have any doubts there, but he can't be much higher right now, just based on what he's done. And up next is something that is very sad. It pains me to put him here. It's Fleta. The Fleta Finale Flora pipeline is real, and Fleta just has not stepped into how he was supposed to. Yeah, he played the Reaper pretty good in the kickoff clash. Good for him. He plays a pretty good Reaper. Not anything past that. The midseason madness, he was good enough to get the job done and get them like they still have only lost like very little. I forget how many matches they've lost in the regular season, but it's like one or three maybe. I think it's like three. So he's been there for that, but in the tournaments he's never shown up, and him not playing last stage and who are you stepping in and being an absolute dominant force might be a telling sign that Fleta maybe is not the meta any longer. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how he does in a more flexible meta, because that's where he shines, when he can be really flexible. He gets to play a lot of different things. We'll see how he does. I think that Fleta hasn't lost his skill. He can get back up there, but this season he hasn't been there. So it's very difficult to race him, even though like he has the name recognition. Fleta should be a minimum A tier player, but right now I'm just not. It's just not there. The effort, not the effort's not there, but the performances haven't been there. Next up, Easy Han actually. So I'm putting Easy Han above a few hit scans, but I can't put him much higher. I'm not going to call him average. I think Easy Han is below average, but the potential to pop off higher. Like, yeah, he did diff Leave in their one win, but Leave was also sick. I'm not going to pull that card, but I'm just saying it wasn't a full force Leave, if I'm being honest. And do you see, has he really diffed anyone above him? Like any of these names on this board? Has he successfully diffed any of this side? Not really. Like, I mean, maybe he's kept up with Fitz to an extent, but like I don't think so. You could say maybe Jimmy he's kept up with, but like I don't know. I think Easy Han isn't in the basement and he's decent, but I'm not putting him into the B tier. Yeah, I think he's like about average, a bit below, which is fair. There's so many good hit scans in this league. It's very hard to be even an average hit scan. An average hit scan is still crazy. Don't get it twisted. Anyway, above Easy Han, I'm gonna go with Assassin. So I was very torn on where to put Assassin because on one hand, his mechanics are crazy, and he was crazy good when Washington was doing good. But when Washington are doing badly, he is invisible. He gets one final blow on Junkertown against teams, and he just disappears, and you can't have that. And even whenever Washington was being successful, I don't think Assassin was spearheading it. I think it was more Decay and their aggressive playstyle with Kalios or Mag, whoever you'd like, when at the time, is what was spearheading it. Oh, bruh, the siren's going crazy. But I don't know. I feel like Assassin needs some more consistency, and he can't just disappear. Even if he just has an off game, but he's still visible, he's still there. That's much better than just literally being empty, like just devoid of anything. So he has the mechanics. Assassin mechanics are very good, but I'm not there yet. And finally, the top of C tier. It's gonna be Kilo after this tournament performance, after this stage. Okay, so here's the thing with Kilo. I already had him like mid. I had him like mid B, and people were telling me to raise him. But here's the thing with Kilo. His highs that we've seen this season have not been that high. Let's not get it twisted here. He has not had the same highs as like Aspire or even Hydron or Xe or anyone like that. And I'm like going A tier or B tier or high B tier, whoever you like. He hasn't had that level. Even Decay. He hasn't even had that level of Decay pop off yet. And he has just been pretty inconsistent. His highs aren't that high. His lows were pretty damn low. And no, that's not on him. Yes, Shock were hanging him out to dry a lot. They were ignoring that they needed to help him. They were setting him up as bait at times. It felt like, but he needs to be better for Shock to actually have a chance. You see every team that's doing things, they always have a good hit scan behind them, right? Shocker are one of the anomalies in my opinion, and Kilo has not. Kilo is the weakest piece on Shock, probably. Like you can argue Violet maybe, but I think Violet had at least a decent Lucio. You could argue better. Statistically, he was one of the best, but that doesn't paint the whole picture, obviously. I don't know. I'm not. I hate the people that are sending hate on Kilo because there's like a whole bunch of stuff for oh my god, Kilo. If they didn't have Kilo, they would have won. That's not true. Let's not get that twisted. Dallas were a much better team all around, but Kilo didn't help his case, and I need to see him be able to actually hit his highs at a higher. And people say, "Oh, but Proper's there, so it's hard to carry when you're next to Proper." Yeah, but it's not hard to just pick the enemy before the fight starts. Proper isn't always killing people right away. There are moments before a fight where you see hit scans get good picks, or at least apply some good pressure. I don't think Kilo has that. It doesn't feel like he has that. Maybe he hasn't stepped into his role yet. Maybe there's still some things are working out with Kilo, and I don't know what's going on because I know he has the potential. He showed it in contenders to be a top caliber hit scan, but this season in Owl, I haven't seen it personally. I remember maybe a few times where I thought Kilo was dominating for a part of a round or a map or anything, but not anything worthy of putting him any higher than this. All right, so B tier. 18 minutes in, B tier. We have the start is going to be Doha. So Doha played a little bit this stage, played a little bit in the previous stage too. But this stage he was on like the Genji Mei kind of thing, and then eventually they just said, "Well, Sparkle's just better, so we're just gonna play Sparkle the whole time." And with her, Doha didn't have like a bad showing, but he definitely was not Sparkle. And his Mei didn't really like it wasn't worth running for Dallas. They were just better if they just ran Sparkle. So I don't know. Doha it was like all right, but not really like the way I'd like them to utilize Doha. And the question is, well, how would I like them to utilize Doha? And my answer to that is I have no idea. None. It just depends on how good Sparkle is at the heroes you want to play at that time. And anyway, the Mei was okay, but it wasn't that great, so they stopped doing it. And putting him on Genji just makes no sense anyway, because Genji, it's good, but it's not great. So that's Doha. Next up's gonna be Nero. So Nero, you know, he was on the Genji, and his Genji was not very good. Let's be a little bit real here. His Genji was not very good relative to the performance he was putting up previously on whatever else it may be. Like there was some Genji at the in the kickoff clash and things like that, but you know, not quite there. Whether it be the Echo or whatever the hell whatever else he was playing in the midseason madness and the kickoff clash. Nero was mostly not playing in the midseason madness anyway because Venom towards the end there, Venom was on the tracer regardless. So like they kind of recognize that I think, and I don't know, it's okay, but it was just solid. Not even solid. I don't know. This is a little weird. I think the Genji's below solid, but I think the rest of his season like kind of raises him up a little bit. Because like was Genji worse than Assassin? Probably not actually. So maybe it is fair to have him here. Okay, I don't know. Next up is Valentine. So Valentine, I think, is a shooter. I would say on Boston. He has some good highs, and he's pretty consistent with them. But for the most part, he isn't like super carrying. He's carrying with his team, and he's doing enough to make his team like have a good chance sometimes. But he's not carrying his team to victory. It's not like there's moments where it's like, oh, Boston won because Valentine was that guy. I mean, there's some times where I guess they beat Atlanta that one time, and it was like, oh, the Boston DPS just kind of won. Uh, but it's more than that for Boston. It's not so much a carry performance with Valentine, but he is very smart. He's very good at the game, and his Genji was pretty solid. And he is not part of the roster that I'm sad about. I'm not very sad about a lot of Boston's roster. It just felt like it never quite gets there. They see like under the scrutiny of the Lori Korean belief or whatever. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that. But anyway, Valentine. I don't know. He has more to give, and I think if Boston performed better, he will be a core reason because of that. But you know, with how good Boston's been, he's probably been their most consistent player, and that kind of shows you like how good I think he has been. Next is going to be Yaki. So this is where I'm putting Yaki. I think I had him A tier last time. Don't remember, but he's getting every single resource on New York, and it feels like they're putting literally every single egg in the Yaki basket, and it just hasn't worked. It just doesn't work. Like sometimes I guess it can catch teams off guard at the beginning of metas or whatever, but it like they literally did not get better with Yaki as their focal point the entire stage. They stayed as the same New York Excelsior from week one. And maybe that's not on Yaki because like maybe they believe in him that much, but his gameplay was not exceptional. Honestly, he wasn't really stealing maps. He was kind of getting shut down, and then New York would get shut down around him, and that's that. So I don't know. Maybe if he had more points around him, maybe the team was more cohesive, his gameplay would have been better. But because it's not, and because he is everything on that team, he's not. He wasn't good enough for that. I think. So I'm just gonna put Yaki here, and then of course, as always in the previous two stages, you know, he would just be throwing pulse bombs at his demons, and I just remember he would just chuck them, and there's not even anyone on his screen, and he's just giving her. So I don't know, maybe he stopped carrying. That probably not true, but anyway, Yaki. Next is gonna be Jimmy. So Jimmy is core, solid gameplay. You know exactly what you're getting with Jimmy every single time, and yeah, he had some good performances, but let's not call him exceptional. Let's not do that. Jimmy is a very solid hit scan that if your team is putting him into a place to succeed, he will. And that's all you're asking for from him, and that's all he does. He's not out here stealing maps. He's not going out. He's not pulling up on Sparker like Sparker would and just giving her. He's not Lip where he literally is going to kill you any moment he sees. He's there. He's Jimmy. He's doing his thing. He's going solid. And at times, he can be the best part of his roster, but that's because his team helps him so much. And yeah, there are other times where he will just shift in on Sojourn and int. That is real with Jimmy also. But he's gotten better at that than previous years, so props to him for that. Anyway, above him is going to be Edison. So Edison, I think Edison's been solid. Some people are probably going to put him higher because like, oh wow, look, he was such a good part of Dallas Fuel. Yeah, but I don't think he was being super like insane with his gameplay. His gameplay was good enough and a massive upgrade from Gurio, and that's all Dallas Fuel needed. Because they have the crazy backline, they have Hanbin, who is unreal, the best tank, as I said in my previous video, and then they had Sparkle on the Genji, who looked pretty damn good. I would say elite. He looked elite on the Genji. Edison was not going crazy compared to the people above him. Even like he never stole a game like Seeker did against Vancouver that one time. He was still on the board, and I didn't put him in Unplayed, so you'll notice that. Or like even like say Fitz, for example, who is still on the board also. Fitz never really super carried any games either, but I feel like he still had a bigger output of performance compared to Edison. And Edison showed up when he needed to, and he was good enough to keep other hit scans like they weren't able to walk over him, but he wasn't going crazy toe to toe with the likes of I don't know Merritt, for example. He wasn't going toe to toe with Merritt. But yeah, Edison, I think he's been solid, and it's not really his role. This isn't really what he came to play, and he's filled into it nicely. So I think that's a pretty good spot for him, like as a player, and a good expectation of him. I'd say that's an exceeding expectations right there with that placement. Next is going to be Dia, who hasn't really gotten the gameplay that I would have liked. Yeah, he was on tank last stage, but this isn't about that. He doesn't play the Sojourn for his team. I think that's kind of a mistake, because I feel like he probably could, but who knows? Because you do have Easy Han, who I put right here, which isn't that big of a gap, but it's still there. I think that whenever he was playing on the Soldier in the kickoff clash, lights out. I think that whenever he swapped over to the Cassidy a little bit, I know there were flashes of that. It looked pretty good. I think his Ashe is exceptional, and I really want to see Dia play more. Maybe this is a little bit of a high rating for him. Maybe. But I am a Dia believer, and I think the work that he was putting out, he was legitimately carrying maps for Valiant. Even in losses, I remember I would give him player of the match because I was like, Dia just did so much for his team. It's a damn shame he lost. If they get him in full time, I think he will bring this team to higher highs. But he just hasn't yet. Up next is gonna be Backbone. So Backbone's hurt. Backbone is really hard. I think I have him dead in the middle. I think this is dead middle in B, pretty much. So Backbone, exceptional May, best May in the league. Also the only one that's really played it. I mean, there was some like Doha May, there was some Patafon May, things like that. But mostly it was Backbone on the May. Didn't work out this stage. They said, we can't do that. You're going on Genji full time. And is Genji maybe the worst blades in the league? And yes, it's a thing where, Genji blades in this meta, they often would just force out ultimates or resources and then actually just try to live. Yeah, but Backbone does that literally every single circumstance all the time. The enemy could have no ults, 0 ults, and Backbone pulls the blade and he backs up every time without fail. And yeah, that's not really good enough. And yeah, you could say his neutral is very good, but I've seen better. I don't think he's going crazy in the neutral either. Is he a reason London lost? I can't say that because they got reverse sweats, or who knows what that was. But I do think that this meta, your Genji impacted a lot, and how good your Genji was very insightful on how good your team was. And I don't rate the London Backbone Genji right now. So, yeah, but his May is exceptional. That's what keeps him up here. But honestly, if I was only rating the Genji ends up going probably like around Becky level, right? It's his May that's pulling his weight. Above him is going to be Sam. So Sam didn't get to play, but he was dripped out. So my goat. I think that he's been pretty good whatever he has been in. But like, it's very hard to reason putting him in next to Proper, right? Because Proper is always going to be your flex DPS. I'm surprised he has as much game time as he did, actually. But I mean, I guess you can afford to do that if you're shocked. I don't know. I'm interested to see how he move, how they do with him moving forward, depending on what the meta is. I think he should be able to get some good playtime. I don't know. Maybe they whip out the Hanzo. The Sam Hanzo goes crazy, but who knows? I don't know if there's too much to say. He's just been a really solid player. I don't think he's been like A tier. I know some people are putting him in A tier, but I like A tier to me is like you're stealing maps still at that point in A tier. Sam hasn't done that. I just think he's been solid for the most part. I don't see very many weaknesses, but I don't see like he's not dominating, right? He's just not. Because you can see like whenever I get to A tier, you'll see the player caliber here. These players are players that will steal maps, and like they will go the extra mile. Sam just hasn't done that. Up next is going to be Speedily, who I think will be an A tier probably. He should be by all means at the end of next stage, but right now he's only played a few matches. He looks okay in them. He doesn't look fantastic. He's done his work. He's on the Echo a bit. That wasn't too good. But the Genji, it's like he's leaning into the Overwatch League. He's getting there, but he needs more. He with the expectations that people had so speedily, he had to he didn't have to, but he needs to come out next stage pretty strong, and I think he will. But for now, he's just been all right. He hasn't really super carried. He had some good blades. He had some good moments, but he also had some pretty rough moments as well. So. More B tier for that reason. Like you could honestly put him all the way here. You could put him in Unplayed. You could put him down quite low. I wouldn't put him in C though. Although is going to be next actually. So Although had a phenomenal tournament, and that's where this rating comes from. Without that tournament, he is going down quite low, probably below Valentine, maybe into the C tier. But I was very concerned about his Genji going into the tournament. But I don't know if it's a crowd buff or what it is, but he had an unreal tournament. I keep saying tournament, but he just had he genuinely played to an unreal level. He was surpassing his peaks for sure this season, and it's going to be interesting to see if he keeps that up or if that was a one-time flash in the pan thing. Even then, it's not like his Genji wasn't like going next level, but that kind of is a testament to how I think the rest of the season gone. Outside of the LAN, although it would definitely be around like finale level, I think I had last time, somewhere around here, because he's just been there. He hasn't really he's been a weakness, I would say even, but I'm gonna put him up there just because he showed up when it matters, and I think that is important. If you show up when it matters, that raises your value. It doesn't matter if you every time like in the regular season, like the tournament gameplay to me has a higher weight than the regular season because it is more. You have to show up when the pressure is on, and that's a part of being a player, and that's why you'll see some players maybe a bit lower than they should have been. I can only think of one that comes to mind for that reason. But although it's definitely raised, if he continues to show to be a playoff performer, if he comes into playoffs and he again surpasses his peak, that's a great attribute to have as a player, and it is a real thing. And it looks like he handled the pressure well, and I'm excited to see what he does moving forward. Above him is going to be Decay. Decay, again with Washington, it felt like their once their playstyle got figured out, Decay did nothing. There were times where I'm watching Washington and I'm like, Decay has to get a pick here. He has to do something, and it just never came. That's a big problem. Decay is supposed to be that kind of player where it's always there. He's always putting up a fight. He's always doing the picks, and I just didn't feel that. I didn't feel to compete. So I think Decay has that potential to go higher because we've seen it. We've seen Decay when he's on is one of the most unreal players. And he did switch over to fulfill Happy's role off of the Genji onto the Sojourn. I don't think he missed a beat for the most part, but there was some weakness there where you would just say Decay just didn't show up, and so Washington lose. But then on the flip side, there are moments where Washington, like against Dallas when they went 2-1, Decay would just kill 5 multiple fights, and you're like, Decay is crazy. He's actually going crazy. But that he needs to do that more to get into A tier because whenever he disappears, and that's been a problem with Decay pretty much his entire career in the Overwatch League. So I'm going to put him in B, but definitely on the way to A. Checkmate is going to be next, actually. So Checkmate really impressed me this stage. I thought his Genji was pretty top-notch, pretty consistently. I had some question marks with Florida regarding the double flex support and how they would do, and if Checkmate was good enough and things like that. But honestly, Checkmate has made me not doubt him. I probably won't doubt him anymore when it comes to Genji, at least. Very solid. Very scary when he was on. He was a threat. He was a real threat, especially in that Defiant match I remember watching, and I was like, I'm scared of Checkmate and what he can do. And he was outplaying Aldo, who also had an unreal tournament. So we'll see if Checkmate keeps it up too, but I think he will. I have more faith in Checkmate to do that than Aldo, and I think the rest of the season has been better, so I'm going to put him B tier. Heston on A tier still, but definitely a solid player. And up next is going to be Seeker. So I have Seeker here. He's played legit 5 maps, but he dominated his game against Aspire in it. No, for the back half, the first half was pretty even, and then he dominated. So I'm going to put him there for now, but obviously he could go unplayed, and maybe next stage he comes out and he does complete garbage and he's down here. But I have doubts that'll happen, and I've been thoroughly impressed by Seeker, and I hope to see him keep it up or improve it or be consistent or whatever it is. Looking for a good player there. Above Seeker, actually going to be Fitz. So I was a little not upset with Fitz, but I wasn't too pleased because in the midseason madness, right? Kind of a rocky season, a rocky stage for him, splitting time with Stalker on the Sojourn, on the Ashe. And then going to this stage, I was like, oh, he has more playtime. He'll probably do better. And he did, but I felt like the other hit scans in APAC were getting a bigger edge on him. Like MN3 and Lip specifically. Like Lip made it Fitz look like Carpe. And yeah, Fitz is a very good player, but he's very consistent and he gets the job done, but he's not... I don't know. I felt like Soul wasn't profiting from Fitz, more Stalker being able to help Fitz out and like finish his kills a bit. And maybe that's why you see, Soul are so good at finishing kills because Fitz wasn't able to finish them himself, but that's like kind of kind of a fallacy there because, like, well, if they're finishing in the fifth can, I don't know. Anyway, I want a little bit more from Fitz. I know he has that ability to go and be that S tier player. I thought Fitz was highly underrated. Maybe I'm underrating him still, but nah, I think he needs to do more for Soul Dynasty right now. Something feels off about him this season to me. Maybe that's a lie. Who knows? But that's it. Anyway, starting off, we have Venom at A tier. Venom didn't play at all. He's a Tracer one trick, but he just takes maps and he says, "This is my map," and he'll win it. You see it on Ilios time and time again. The cost specifically, we saw it in the midseason Madness playoffs. Venom wasn't a part of the absolute clown car of the Atlanta Reign this stage, so he's not getting hurt there at all. And it's just Venom, Raw, Tracer, diffing, and he's so good. He's able to steal maps, and that's why I like A tiers. A tier can steal maps. A high A tier can steal matches, dictate the play. B tier, it's like they work out well. When they're put in an opportunity to succeed, they will. But A tier is like they can steal the maps, and they can be that guy. So that's why I think Venom deserves there. Next up is going to be Happy on the Gladiators. So this is including his Washington performance. And Happy, I thought was the most consistent part of the Washington Justice in the Gladiators. It felt like he didn't quite click right away. He still was figuring things out. He did improve them, I would say, but he didn't have a dominating performance that maybe I would expect him to have from going to from one pretty good team but had some big inconsistency issues, and just the coaching wasn't there, to a superstar team that's supposed to have everything figured out. I would have expected more, but the whole of Gladiator suffered. So this will be a very good test for Happy to see how he does on a really elite team next stage. If he falters here, that's not a good look for him. He needs to fix it. Okay, next up is Xe. So Xe doesn't play very much, with the reason cited being that Hydron Calm's better. But Xe did step into that midseason madness, and he kind of just rolled in the tournament to an extent. Secured that reverse sweep, and as soon as Xe came in, it was like it all made sense for Florida. So I was a little concerned when we don't see it, because I was like, oh, Xe's the guy moving forward. But then Hydron comes in, and Hydron's actually the guy moving forward. Or at least for that stage, and he performed very well. I've never had a problem with Hydron. I thought Hydron was the guy all of last stage, and then he wasn't. And I was like, damn, I was a big Hydron fan. I thought he was doing so much. He's doing so much for Florida. He's carrying them. Not carrying them, but he is doing so much work that he's being a big contributor to their success. And so it still works out here. Like, regardless, you have two exceptional hit scan choices on Florida. It doesn't matter who you choose. Flip a coin, really. And if it literally comes down to Hydron Calm's better, so he's in versus Xe's a little bit better mechanically, I would say. Maybe a bit better mechanically. But Hydron maybe has some more smarts about him. Who knows what they're thinking in Florida. But two extremely good hit scan choices that are either way. Xe's more of a... like, he'll just frag out and he'll get you kills. But Hydron maybe a bit more consistent, a bit more... got his picks out, and then you can go on about your day, kind of thing. Next is going to be Jinmu. So Jinmu, I was extremely excited for this stage, because he came out the gate, and Chengdu looked like a literal force. And Jinmu on the Genji is looking insane. Top Genji in APAC. But it kind of peters out. And that's the problem with Jinmu, is can he keep up those performances? We know he has them, but can he do it? And he never really kept them up for me. I think he falters a little bit, and he kind of falls behind. Stalker had a better performance. Alpha E didn't, but Alpha E's had a better season overall, I would say. So Alpha E's still on this list. But I don't know, some of the other Genjis in APAC, Zest, for example, I feel like Zest still had a better one overall. And just like his Jinmu's peak is insane, but he needs to actually get that peak higher. And yeah, he's able to just carry maps, carry matches even. When he's on, but when he's off, not as good, and Chengdu kind of struggle. Above him is going to be Stalker, who has a pretty rocky midseason madness on the Sojourn, splitting time with Fitz, but on the Genji full time, he looked insane. Definitely the best following up Genji. Like, if he sees a weak target and he knows he can get to him, he's on it and he's dead right away. So that's why Stalker excels. Literally stalks the opponent, basically. And that he was probably the best Genji at doing that specific thing, but not the best Genji overall, which is why we see some other ones on top of him. And because there was only one stage, and he did have a pretty subpar midseason madness, that's why he's down so low. Above him is going to be Alpha E, who unfortunately does miss the first week of this stage, and from there never really got back on his feet after moving to Hangzhou. So, quite unfortunate there. I did expect more from him, But that doesn't discount that the rest of his other two stages were incredible, and he was one of the best rookies or the best Genjis in general in APAC during that time. And that the Shy Alpha U DPS line at times was looking like the scariest DPS line maybe in the league. Now I would say that has moved to probably Lip and Who Are You, I would say. But, Who Are You can only play one thing. So Alpha, he needs a bounce back stage or else he's going to fall a bit lower. But I'm not going to let, 4 poor matches, not even, they weren't that bad for him, but as a team, the spark never really popped off, and he wasn't at that level that he was before. So he does get lowered a little bit there. Next is Aspire. So Aspire, extremely talented Sojourn, one of the most dynamic Sojourns in NA. He's literally the focal point of the Vancouver Titans, and he is their lifeblood. But he's not at that level of super duper, super duper, I would say. He is very good, and he does get them most of their wins. But those wins weren't against high caliber teams. If Aspire is able to get you a win, it's probably not against a team above Vancouver. Realistically, we saw he didn't really have that oomph that he needed in the tournament to actually make a deep run, and that he loses to Florida. And Hydron honestly kept up with him or was better in that specific match. So he's not untouchable. He has some very high moments, and he doesn't have very low lows. His lows are still like A tier lows, but his highs are just not his average. I think his average is mid at A tier, is what I'm trying to say. Yes, his highs he can do so much. He can literally kill 5, and his team can still lose around him, as we saw throughout the entire other 2 stages. But he needs to take another step to be a true S tier Sojourn. Yes, he has the pieces. Yes, his mechanics are crazy. He's one of the best Sojourns in the league. But he needs more than that to make it properly S tier. Maybe you can say, well, that's because of the team around him, but I don't know. That's kind of a cop-out. Next is going to be Patafon, who unfortunately has that injury, and he is unable to play for the foreseeable future. Hopefully he rests up as long as it takes and he gets to 100%, because it would be very bad for his quality of life for the rest of his life at such a young age. He's only 18 to be impacted because he decided to try and game through the injury. So I really hope he takes all the time he needs here. But he was having an insane rookie season, right? His Sojourn was crazy. You saw him on the Genji, you saw him on the Tracer. He was doing whatever he needed. He was there and he was putting in the absolute work. But, as other players are able to continue to play, he is just going to naturally move down because he's not getting the same playtime. He's not able to improve the same way these other players around him are, and that's why he's going to slowly move down this list. Hopefully I never take him out of A. I don't think I will. But he was at the top before, and now he's in the middle. That's just how it goes. Above him is going to be Zest and MN3. I'm actually putting them both together. So Zest, he was trying to do it all himself for the first 4 matches on the Fusion. Literally no one with him, and he was trying to do it. He was doing as much as he could. He was stealing some maps away, but he just didn't have anyone with him at all. There's no help. And then, MN3, his good buddy above him, he pulls up, and suddenly Philly are a damn scary team with 2 of the most dynamic DPS in the league. And they're able to make it into the tournament, and that's all they needed. And they get that extra point. They're happy with that because otherwise it was looking like a pretty bleak stage with Carpe playing in. So I think Zest was pretty consistent. He was doing his work. He was doing his part and more. He was trying to do everyone's part. And he succeeded in some maps. Didn't succeed in some others. I think Zest is an insane Genji. And I said he took a step back in the midseason madness, but I think that step came back in the kickoff or in the Summer Showdown. So that's why he's up this high. MN3, however, he comes in, literally doesn't miss a beat against Carpe, has a damn good 2 matches where he basically carries. His tournament was solid. MN3, if he's able to find consistency in his game, which I think he does, I believe MN3 can find that consistency he needs to literally be an elite hit scan. Right now, he's just very good. But his highs are maybe the highest in this league that we've seen dynamically. With how much he's able to do, not just click heads, his movement, everything about it, the aggression he has, it's there, and I believe he can go further. Next is going to be Pelican. So this is the player I was talking about earlier, where I think he needs to perform in the tournaments. He didn't. He did not show up when it mattered, and that's literally 2 in a row where when it came down to it in the tournament, when it came to elimination matches against good teams, he didn't show up. You cannot have that if you're a top player. I'm not. You can't. You have to be better as an S tier player. If he wanted to make that jump to S tier, he needed that. The entire qualifiers, the entire regular season outside of the tournaments, Pelican has been that guy. He's gotten better and better from the kickoff class to the midseason madness. This was his best qualifying stage. But you have to show up to the tournaments, man. You have to. And until he does, I'm putting him at the top of A tier because he just needs that. That's what's separating him in my eyes to being a top player. Is you have to show up. And I don't know where it went. He showed up last season. He was there. He's even showed up sometimes this season. I remember against Defiant in both the other two tournaments. Pelican showed up. He was able to come up clutch. Not in this one. Not in the other ones either. Whenever they came down to the nitty gritty. And that's where Pelican is. So now I'm going to put Hisu here. This might be Toronto bias, right? But here's the thing with Hisu. He controlled the game so much. He was basically the controller of Toronto Defiant as a hit scan, which you never see any other player do. To my thinking, I don't remember any other hit scan player controlling the pace as much as Hisu on the Ash. And it's kind of a testament to how strong he was doing it, because they were even playing Ash on maps where you're like, well, Sojourn's probably better here, but Hisu, how important he was to his team and how much he was doing with controlling the pace with Dynamite, getting the consistent damage output he needed on the Ash. It just made it worth it, even for the Defiant, because no other Ash player was getting that kind of value with his Dynamite, controlling the pace of the game that much on the hit scan. Now, there are some other Genjis, like Proper, I would argue, controls the pace of the game a bit more than Hisu did as a single player, but Hisu was doing a damn good job. The reason he's not S tier, the rest of his other two stages were not at that level. He was still very solid. Like, he was like mid A tier, mid low A tier in the other two stages, but this stage he really stepped up. I'm not quite going to put him S tier, but he has an argument, I think. I'm just going to leave him at top of A for now. Maybe we'll see next stage how he does. But I'm very impressed by his gameplay this stage. And finally, the S tier. The last 12. There are 12 people in S tier. The bottom is going to be Leave. So, Leave showed that he is that guy on the Sojourn for sure this stage. He already had in the midseason madness even more. Kickoff Flash, not so much. Not so much a soldier player. But this stage, he was the reason that Chengdu looked so scary with Jinmu. But it was Leave first and foremost. Because Jinmu, you know what, he also did really well in the Pharah. I didn't mention that in his part. But that was because Leave was so good at shutting down anyone who tried to contest him. Whether it be an Echo, whether it be the enemy Sojourn, Leave is always there, and he always is a step ahead of the enemy. And you saw Chengdu falter whenever Leave wasn't on his game. Leave was maybe not feeling it, not like a little under the weather. Suddenly, EasyHon can come in and beat the Chengdu Hunters. That's a testament to how good Leave is and how much he matters to this team. He still is the reason this team succeeds, if they ever succeed. They made 0 tournaments, but as long as they make it through the play-ins and Leave is there, I think they could make it into the play-ins despite winning and making 0 tournaments. But Leave is that good. And he has been for a while, as we know, former MVP. Reigning MVP. Above him is going to be Sparkle, so I was considering where to put Sparkle, because I was like, Sparkle had a all-right kickoff Clash mid-season madness, but not anything crazy. I think he really stepped up in this Summer Showdown. The reason is, like, yes, he has a lot of help from his team. You have Hanbin doing the Lord's work, one of the best backlines in the league, but Sparkle was able to take that space and make that space also because he is Genji, which was a very frontline character, and play it to another level where you're able to go toe-to-toe with Proper and be that good. I still think Proper is better. Let's calm down here. I think Sparkle was better for what the Dallas Fuel was doing, though. And I don't know if any other Genji can actually fulfill that role that Sparkle was fulfilling just within his team. And I think he deserves S tier based on this tournament. Because, yeah, he really did have an Unreal tournament. Unreal stage. And one of the best Genjis. I'm not sure I'm putting him like above a lot of these players raw mechanically. There's still 10 players above him, and a lot of them are Genji players, but he's very good. Next up is going to be Kai. So Kai, his team kind of suffers a bit in this tournament. And I think Kai, not in the tournament, I keep saying tournament, in this stage, So my thing with Kai, I've said it before, is he's more of a like you give him, he'll sit back. He's not on the flank nearly as much as some of the other players. He'll sit back. You give him a pixel, he'll hit the pixel. But he's very much a sit back, playing it kind of safe, not as aggressive hit scan player. So suddenly the Atlanta Rain are unable to give him that pixel he needs. He's not able to have that. And because of that, he kind of falters a little bit. He's not really able to do it himself. He kind of he doesn't need a lot of opportunity, but he needs an opportunity, and he needs his team to make it. He doesn't create the opportunities for himself, and that's a reason why I keep putting him lower, and I put other players like I put Sparker and Merritt above him. Even last time I had Sparker above him because Sparker creates those opportunities. Kai doesn't, and that's a big thing for me. It works with the Atlanta Rain whenever they're doing good, but whenever they're doing poorly, like they did last stage, it just didn't work, and Kai wasn't able to dominate because he wasn't able to get the opportunity to dominate because his team needs to make it. So that's why I'm putting Kai this low. He's still S tier because his aim is literally unreal, and that's like it. Like he has like probably the best mechanical aim to like thread the needle and take those little pixels he needs in this league that I can think of. Above him is going to be Choice I Want. I'm a huge Choice I Want enjoyer, right? I've said it all season. Unreal player. He just needs a team around him. What happens? He gets a team around him. He doesn't do that good for the first 2 matches. For even the first 4 matches, it's like, you know what? I expect more from Choice I Want here. The last 2, he goes crazy. He's in it. He is their best player. He is driving the force. He is doing everything he needs to. And he's back on his A game. I still think he could give more with this roster. I think if they play around him a bit more, he has it. But Choice I Want is an unreal player. I think one of the best like carry performances from any Flex DPS in this league so far. And you know what? Maybe it's high, maybe it's low. Who knows? I think Choice I Want has more to give, and I think if next meta is good for the charge, he's in a very good spot for me to talk about him more because he's my goat. And up next is going to be Sparker. So I actually have Sparker here. Sparker, you know, one of the most dynamic Sojourn players in the league. Just with how how aggressive he lets himself be and the angles he's able to take and how accurate he is when he takes them. He is a driving force for this London Spitfire, who had two pretty poor back-to-back tournaments where they get reverse swept. Now, is that on him or is that on how good Florida is at rallying back? I think there's probably a bit of both there. It's not really on him. It's more on the team, right? The team structure as a whole needs to not let other teams back into it. But, you know, High John Start came alive, and where did Sparker go? He was still putting up a fight, but he wasn't really there as much. So I don't know. I still think overall he's one of the best at finding the angles and creating openings for himself with how aggressive he is. But he does get lowered a little bit because Merritt is that guy. Merritt steps up to me and is the aggressive Sojourn in NA now. He is just, like, I've said it the whole season that Merritt has been one of the best. Even back in the kickoff class, I was like, Merritt is crazy. He's that guy, right? Mid-season madness, people are like, oh my god, Merritt is literally the best Sojourn alive. True. Not quite true. Almost true. And then he's just sliding in. He doesn't care. He literally will just slide in, get some headshots, and if he lives, he lives. If he doesn't, who cares? He just killed 2 or 3 people. And he made Houston, in my opinion, the scariest DPS line as a pair in NA going to that tournament before they just never made it. Or they never made it, like, they never made a deep run into the tournament. But I think Merritt, he's another player that makes the openings for himself in a bit of a more aggressive way than Sparker does, I find. And he's a bit more, he finds more picks better, in a way. Sparker's better, like, maybe in the middle of the fight, but Merritt's good everywhere. He's good at the start of the fight, the middle of the fight, the end of the fight. Doesn't matter. His, he's got it all. And how he uses his disruptor field as well, I think is quite interesting. He has very good use of it, and Sparker, maybe not as much compared to Merritt. Next is going to be Shy. Now, Shy, this high after that stage, really, yeah, because it's not Shy's fault. Let's not say it's Shy's fault. Shy is that guy, and Shy is the largest carry to his team outside of Proper, I would say, as a single player. We saw that suddenly once Alpha E goes away, everyone just inted on the Shy. Suddenly the Hongyo Spark aren't a good team. Everyone ints on Shy. It's the whole way. And he is that good that he still is able to pull fights out whenever the entire enemy teams are just inting on him off cooldown. He was still able to find some good value. I still think he's crazy. Remember, in the midseason madness, they do not nearly go as deep as they go without Shy being that guy. He still was there those entire 2 stages. Still one of the best Sojourns. Still one of the biggest carries. He's not as aggressive as Merritt or Sparker, but he is. He does create more opportunities than Kai, right? He's not always just sitting back. It's a good balance, and I think Shy is crazy. But this is also a Hangzhou's fan saying this, so keep that in mind. Maybe I'm a bit wrong. Next up is going to be Lip and Who Are You. I'm just gonna put them together. I have Who Are You second below Lip because yeah, he was the best Genji bar none in that tournament, but that's all he was able to do. And in the kickoff clash, he was still really good. He was still probably one of the best Genjis, but this was like another level to me. He really stepped up and pretty much controlled the entire pace of everything. Always going at a very aggressive, fast tempo, picking his up place as well. And if it doesn't work out, who cares? Because they have the best hit scan behind him, basically, because Lip was unreal this stage. He would dominate games. And the combination of Lip and Who Are You together is untouchable, undeniable how good these guys were. And that's it. That's really it. Lip finds out they're such a good pair. Who Are You goes in, Lip gets kills, Lip follows up on Who Are You kills, Who Are You follow up on Lip kill. Oh my god. And they don't even need each other because they're that good alone. Who let these guys into the Overwatch League? They're too good. They're just too good. Now, I still have Kevster on this list. So why is Kevster my number 3? Okay, so Kevster's my number 3, right? Because I'm not going to deny his other 2 stages, which were incredible. But this stage specifically, he did have some problems, right? I'm not going to say he didn't, because there were times where maybe he was being a bit greedy with his blade usage, which was the biggest thing. But he still was able to pop off and go crazy, especially towards the end of that stage. He was still playing really well. And let's not forget that they literally lost to the top 4 teams in NA in this stage, basically. And Kevster was still putting in work the whole time. I'm not going to fault him because he lost. He lost 4 50-50s. You can look at it that way. I think is a safe way to look at it. And I still think he's top 3. I don't think it's fair to punish him because of the team's lack of really getting it together in that final stage. Or not final stage, but in that last stage. And Kevster's still that guy to me. So we'll see how he does next. If next stage Gladiators also do bad, maybe he goes below Who Are You. Maybe he goes all the way down to, I don't know, Kai level or something. But Kevster still makes it work. And then next is going to be Prophet. He doesn't play the DPS this stage. This is largely riding on his crazy kickoff clash. He brings them all the way to the finals from the brink of defeat. In the midseason madness, Seoul as a team don't really make a deep tournament run, but Prophet is still there. And I don't know. I'm not rating this stage, but this is basically from his last stage. And it's like, well, who had better 2 stages? Basically, did Prophet perform better, or did Kevster perform better? I still think it's on Prophet. Now, we'll see. Next stage, I'm assuming Prophet will be back on DPS. That's easier to justify because he did just miss a stage, but it wasn't because he was bad at DPS. Because he was better at a role he wasn't supposed to play. I still think Prophet's that guy. But we'll see going into the next stage. And then finally, Proper. Proper to me is everything because I already said he controls the pace of the game larger than anyone else, and he does. It's just true. All of his engagements, how smart he is at when he goes in, and he is very aggressive. Let's not get that twisted, but he picks his aggression very smart, and he knows his limits to such an extent that a play that looks like, oh my god, why did he just go in there? Oh, it's Proper. He has the mechanics to bail him out. He doesn't. It's not his mechanics bailing him out. He's counting on the mechanics, and he goes in and hits that aggression, and he goes crazy. I don't know. It's just like he's the whole package. He is the carry DPS, the ultimate carry. And yeah, Dallas found a way to shut him down, and then Shock just lose. But it took the best team in the league to finally shut them down, or the best team in their region. So I don't know. Proper is still solid S tier for me. Anyway, let me know where I went wrong. Of course, as always, let me know your thoughts. Like this video if you like it, subscribe for more daily Overwatch League content. Thank you so much for watching, and have yourself a good one. Deuces.